Hello, and welcome to Frame by Frame, the show where we take a closer look at the animation, storytelling, and creative choices that make anime so powerful. I'm Lee, and today's episode focuses on Makia, When the Promised Flower Bloom, a beautifully animated and emotional film about love, loss, and the passage of time. Let's start with a short overview of the movie. Makia, When the Promised Flower Bloom is a fantasy drama film that follows the journey of a young girl from a long-lived race who becomes separated from her homeland and must survive in the human world. This story begins in a peaceful land inhabited by a mysterious group of people who live for hundreds of years. Their quiet way of life is suddenly shattered when invading forces attack their homeland in search of immortality. During this chaos, our main lead, Makwa, becomes separated from her people and is left completely alone. With nowhere else to go, Makia begins traveling through unfamiliar regions, slowly learning how to survive in the world dominated by humans. Along her journey, she comes across a destroyed village and discovers a human baby who has been left behind with no one else to care for. After much hesitation, Makia decides to take responsibility for the child and raise him as her own. She names him Ariel and begins a new life, learning how to care for him while adapting to human society. As time passes, Makia and Ariel move from place to place, building a quiet life together. While Makia remains unchanged, Ariel grows from a small child into a young man. Their relationship evolves as they face challenges, struggles, and moments of happiness along the way. This film follows their journey across many years, showing how their bond is tested by the passage of time, outside dangers, and emotional hardship. Along the way, they encounter new people, face difficult choices, and experience moments that shape their lives forever. Rather than focusing on action or large-scale conflict, this story centers on everyday moment, growing up, learning responsibility, and finding purpose. These small moments slowly build into a powerful and meaningful journey. Though it's a fantasy setting and character-driven narrative, Makia, When the Flower Promised Bloom, presents a moving story about connection, growth, and the choices that define who we become. One of the reasons Makia stands out is because of the studio behind it and the genre it falls into. The film was produced by PA Works, a studio known for creating beautifully animated story and focus on animation, realism, and strong character development. Their style emphasized detailed background, natural lighting, and subtle movement. In terms of genre, Makia is a fantasy drama, blending magical elements with deep emotional storytelling about family, loss, and love. The animation style used soft lighting, pastel colors, and highly detailed backgrounds to create a dreamlike atmosphere. Slow camera movements and smooth transition allow emotional movements to breathe, while subtle character expression helps communicate deep emotion. This episode of Frame by Frame is brought to you by Tokyo Treats, the monthly subscription box filled with authentic Japanese snacks and drinks from Japan, from exclusively Kit Kat flavors to popular anime-inspired treats. Tokyo Treats lets you taste the culture behind your favorite show. Experience Japan one bite at a time. The story of Makia focuses on time, loss, and the meaning of family. The main character lives far longer than normal humans, which forces her to watch loved ones grow old and pass away. This creates a powerful emotional journey that explores motherhood, sacrifice, and the pain of letting go. Visual storytelling plays a major role in communicating emotion. Change in lighting, age, character design, and quiet messages help show the passage of time and emotional weights without heavy dialogue. What makes Makia especially powerful is how relatable its message is. Even though the story includes fantasy elements, the emotion explore love, grief, family, and growth are universal. This allows viewers to form a deep emotional connection with the characters and reflect on their own relationship and experience. To sum it up, Makya, When the Promised Flower Bloom, stands out because of its emotional storytelling, soft-animation style, careful pacing, and beautiful music. It shows how anime can tell meaningful stories in subtle and powerful ways. That's going to wrap up this episode of Frame by Frame. Thank you for watching, and be sure to tune in next time as we break down another anime, frame by frame. I'm Lee, and I'll see you next time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of Tolkienary. My name is Spencer Klein, and today we'll be talking about the magical items and races of Middle-earth. So, the first item, the magical item in Middle-earth, is the Silmarils. The Silmarils were a set of 3 gems created by the elven smith Fëanor. These gems held the light of the 2 trees of Valinor. After Morgoth sent the great spider Ungoliant to consume the trees, he stole the 3 Silmarils to gain its immeasurable power, thus causing the first great war in the first age of Middle-earth. Fëanor and his sons declared an oath called the Oath of Fëanor to fight the war against any who stole Fëanor's Silmarils. Be he friend or foe, be he foul or clean, brood of Morgoth or bright Vala, Elda or Maya or aftercomer, neither law nor love nor league of swords, dread nor danger, not doom itself, shall defend him from Fëanor and Fëanor's kin, whose hideth or hoardeth or in hand taketh, finding keepeth or afar casteth, a Silmaril, this swear we all. Death we will deal him ere days ending, woe unto world's end. Our word hear thou, Iru Allfather, to the everlasting. Darkness doom us if our deed faileth. On the holy mountain hear and witness, and our vow remember, Manwë and Vardha. The Elven Rings. through the craftsmanship of Celebrimbor and the deceit of Sauron disguised as an elf, forged the rings of power. After Celebrimbor's discovered Sauron's treachery, he made by himself 3 elven rings of power. These rings are called Nardia, the ring of fire, Nenya, the ring of water, and Vilya, the ring of air. Nardia belonged to the gray wizard Gandalf, handed to him by the elf Círdan. Nenya was given to the elf Galadriel of Lothlórien, and finally Vilya was given to Elrond of Rivendell, passed down from the elven king Gil-galad. The One Ring. One ring to rule them all, one ring to find them, one ring to bring them all, and in the darkness bind them. 20 rings were made in total. 3 were given to the elves, immortal, wisest, and fairest of all beings. 7 to the dwarf lords, great miners and craftsmen of the mountain halls. And 9 rings of power were given to the race of men who above all else desire power. For within these rings were bound the strength and will to govern each race. But they were all of them deceived, for another ring was made. That ring was none other than the One Ring, a master ring forged by none other than the Dark Lord Sauron, servant of Morgoth and the Lord of the Rings. Many people seem to think that wearing the One Ring grants you the power of invisibility, but it's a bit more complicated than that. You appear invisible to others because your physical form has passed into something known as the unseen realm, a different dimension of sorts. It's basically the source of magic in Middle-earth. Only people of great power and access to the unseen realm can stay visible when wearing the ring. In Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, a hobbit named Frodo and his friend and ally Samwise traveled across the lands of Middle-earth to find the one place that can destroy the One Ring. In the land of Mordor, cast it into the fires of Mount Doom. Races of Middle-earth. Dwarves. Short in stature, dwarves are a very proud yet very stubborn race, as described by Bilbo. Some notable dwarves include Thorin Oakenshield, Gimli son of Gloin, and the Lion of Durin. There are 2 notable kingdoms that the dwarves inhabit in the Third Age. The Mines of Moria, a huge city/mine, where the dwarves dug so deep they awoke an ancient creature known as the Balrog, and the Kingdom of Erebor, a city built into the Lonely Mountain. It was known for its vast wealth and treasure. But apparently, these dwarven cities can't catch a break, because soon a dragon descended upon the city, taking it for himself. Elves. Elves were the first race of beings. Unlike the other races, the elves were not actually native to Middle-earth. They came to Middle-earth in a huge fleet of boats sailing from Valinor, a magical land only extremely powerful beings can visit. As of the Third Age, there are only 3 elven kingdoms left: the Woodland Realm, Lothlórien, and Rivendell. Unlike the dwarven cities, the elven cities are perfectly fine, which I personally find a little unfair. Men. Men as in humans. Humans are known to be a lot more susceptible to power. Men are the most affected by the One Ring because it influences one's will, and men are all about willpower in Lord of the Rings. They are split in between 2 kingdoms in the Third Age, Rohan and Gondor. Gondor's capital used to be the city of Osgiliath, but due to many decades of civil war and political strife, it has since fallen to ruin. The new capital was moved to Minas Anor, then renamed to Minas Tirith. And now, a word from our sponsor. Have you ever wanted a nice, shiny sword, perhaps forged by the likes of Feanor and Celebrimbor? Well, look no further than United Cutlery, the perfect place to purchase life-size replicas of iconic blades from the Lord of the Rings. And finally, a brief reading from Tolkien's first book in the series of Middle-earth, The Hobbit, read by yours truly.
In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit.
not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. It had a perfectly round door like a porthole, painted green with a shiny yellow brass knob in the exact middle. The door opened onto a tube-shaped hall like a tunnel, a very comfortable tunnel without smoke, with paneled walls and floors, tiled and carpeted, provided with polished chairs, and lots of pegs for hats and coats. The hobbit was fond of visitors. The tunnel wound on and on, going fairly but not quite straight into the side of the hill. The hill, as all the people for many miles round called it, and many little round doors opened out of it, first on one side and then on the other. No going upstairs for the hobbit. Bedrooms, bathrooms, cellars, pantries, lots of these. Wardrobes, he had a whole room devoted to clothes. Kitchens, dining rooms, all were on the same floor and indeed on the same passage. The best rooms were all on the left-hand side going in, for those were the only ones to have windows, deep-set round windows looking over his garden and meadows beyond, sloping down to the river. The hobbit was a very well-to-do hobbit, and his name was Baggins. The Bagginses had lived in the neighborhood of the hill for time out of mind, and the people considered them very respectable, not only because most of them were rich, because they never had any adventures nor did anything unexpected. You could tell what a Baggins would say on any question without the bother of asking him. This is a story of how a Baggins had an adventure, found himself doing and saying things altogether unexpected. He may have lost his neighbor's respect, but he gained, well, you'll see whether he gained anything in the end. The mother of our particular hobbit. What is a hobbit? I suppose hobbits need some description nowadays, since they have become rare and shy of the big people, as they call us. They are, or were, a little people, about half our height and smaller than the bearded dwarves. Hobbits have no beards. There is little to no magic about them, except the ordinary, everyday sort, which helps them to disappear quietly and quickly when large, stupid folk like you and me come blundering along, making a noise like elephants which they can hear a mile off. They are inclined to be fat in the stomach. They dress in bright colors, chiefly green and yellow, wear no shoes because their feet grow naturally leathery soles and thick, warm brown hair like the stuff on their heads, which is curly, have long, clever brown fingers, good-natured faces, and laugh deep, fruity laughs, especially after dinner, which they have twice a day when they can get it. Now you know enough to go on. As I was saying, the mother of this hobbit, of Bilbo Baggins, that is, was the famous Belladonna Took, one of the 3 remarkable daughters of the old Took, head of the hobbits who lived across the water, a small river that ran at the foot of the hill. It was often said, in other families, that long ago one of the Took ancestors must have taken a fairy wife. That was of course absurd, but certainly they were still something not entirely hobbit-like about them. And once in a while, members of the Took clan would go and have adventures. They would discreetly disappear, and the family hushed it up. But the fact remained that the Tooks were not as respectable as the Baggins, although they were undoubtedly richer. That's all I have time for this episode of Tolkienary. Once again, my name is Spencer Klein, and in the next episode, we'll be talking more about the events of Lord of the Rings as a story. Until next time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of A Hook and a Deadline. In our last episode, we learned how to crochet 2 small cherries. And today I will be showing you how to create the stems and the leaves for them. The materials we will need for this episode is some 4-ply yarn, a size 3.5 millimeter hook, and a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. The way we start the leaves will be different from the way we started the cherries. For the leaves, we will need to start off with something called a slip knot and something else called a chain. A slip knot is the first loop that is placed on the hook at the start of almost every crochet project. What typically comes after a slip knot is a chain, and a chain is like the foundation for many projects. But it usually determines the length or the width of your project. However, a chain can be used for other things like tassels, or in our case, the stems for our cherries. In the upcoming video, I will demonstrate how to make a slip knot and chain for this project. But before we get started, I do want to point out that I have seen easier ways to do a slip knot than the way that it's shown in this video. It's not necessarily difficult, but I've definitely seen people who do a slip knot without wrapping the yarn around their fingers first. So I won't be upset if the way I learned isn't for you. Now, onto the first video. To start off our leaves and stem, we are going to start off with something called a slip knot. So there are definitely easier ways to start a slip knot, but once again, I'm going to show you the way that I learned and the way that stuck with me. So take your yarn, of course, and wrap it around your fingers kind of in a way, well, very similarly to how I started the magic ring. So you have an X on your fingers again. And also like the magic ring, we're going to take our hook and go under the second loop and over the first loop, and pull it up. And then you can tighten it. And if you pull on your working yarn and not the tail, well, you can pull on your tail too, but for working yarn, you just pull it, and if it tightens around your hook, then I'd say you did it right. So what we're going to do next is chain. We're going to do 12 chains. A chain, I would say, is the easiest stitch that you can do, because a lot of projects start off with a chain. So here we go. The first, I would grab the yarn by the tail, and it's kind of just like yarning over and pulling through the hook. I'll do that again. Yarning over, pull through the hoop. So now we have 2 chains. Yarn over, pull through the loop. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, and you can move your fingers up as you make progress. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So your chain should look something like this. You can count the stitches just to make sure. So that's how you make your slip knot and chain. Now that we have the foundation for our first leaf, we're ready to crochet the leaf itself. The cool thing about this pattern is that it introduces you to almost all of the basic crochet stitches. We will be doing a slip stitch, a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet. The only basic stitch that was left out is called a triple crochet. Even though I've only been crocheting since November of 2025, I have not seen many patterns or projects that include a triple crochet stitch. However, the triple crochet stitch is often used to make open and draped garments such as summer wear, scarves, or shawls. In the next video, you will notice that I mess up multiple times. The reason I left some of the mistakes in is to show how forgiving crocheting can be while you're still a beginner. The advice I'd give to anyone who is new to crocheting is to give yourself room and understanding when you mess up, because it will happen. Remind yourself to be patient and that it is truly okay to make mistakes. Here is the next clip. Now that we have our chain, the next step is to crochet into the chain. So first, we will skip one chain. The loop connected to the hook does not count as a chain. However, this counts as a chain. So we will skip this one and go into the second one, which is right here. So now that our hook is inside of the correct chain, the first stitch is a single crochet. You just yarn over, pull through the loop, pull up so it looks like you have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. The next step is a half double crochet. This is kind of like one step up from a single crochet, and you'll see soon that the size will increase. To start a half double crochet, we will wrap the yarn around the hook, insert the hook into the next stitch, so you start off with 3 loops on your hook. So for a half double crochet, next we yarn over and pull through. Oh, that didn't work. Oh gosh. Let me try that again. So there's 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and it should look something like this. This is the start of the first leaf. Next is a double crochet. You start off the same way you would with a half double crochet by wrapping the yarn around the hook before you insert it into the next stitch. So you'll start off with 3 loops on your hook, and you will yarn over just like with the half double crochet, but for a double crochet you pull it through. This is hard because my hook size does not match with the yarn size. Okay, yarn over and pull through the first, oh my gosh, 2 loops, so that you're left with 2 loops on your hook. Then yarn over and pull through the remaining 2 loops. Now we're going to make the rest of the leaf, and we will continue with another half double crochet. So wrap the yarn around your hook, just once, insert it into the next stitch, yarn over, and pull up a third loop. And this is a half double crochet, so we will yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Excuse my hook falling off. So now we're decreasing the size, so we will go from a half double crochet to a single crochet. So just insert the hook directly into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a second loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. Then we will end this leaf with a slip stitch. A slip stitch is almost like a single crochet, so insert it into the stitch, pull up your loop, and then pull that loop into the other loop. We are almost done crocheting our own cherries. We have the first stem and the first leaf for our cherries. The next video will show you how to crochet the second leaf and stem. It's very similar to the first half, so if the previous video was too fast for you, I hope that this one clears up any confusion you may have. The next step in this pattern is to chain another 7. So here we go again. Yarn over. 1, that's the first chain. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. All right. So this is the foundation for our next leaf. So just like for the first leaf, we will be skipping the first chain. Remember, the loop does not count as a chain. I'm talking about right here, the first V, that's the first chain. We will be skipping that, so we will be crocheting into the second V, which is the second chain. The first stitch that we will be doing into the second chain is a single crochet, just like for the first leaf. So we know single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through both loops. Next is a double crochet into the next stitch. Sorry, a half double crochet. So we will wrap the yarn around, insert the hook into the next stitch so that there are 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, and since this is a half double crochet, pull through all 3. Boom. I hope you guys could see that. Next stitch is a double crochet. Once again, wrap your yarn around your hook and then insert your hook into the next stitch. Again, count the 3 loops to make sure we're on the right track. Yarn over and then pull through the first 2 loops and pull up so that there are 2 loops remaining on the hook, and then repeat by yarning over and pulling through the last 2, and that is a double crochet. Now we're going to do another half double crochet. Wrap the yarn around your hook, insert it into the next stitch, yarn over, pull a loop up, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Next is a single crochet. Hopefully we're familiar with that by now. Oops, you do not wrap around for a single crochet, you just enter it into the next stitch. 2 loops, 1, 2, yarn over, pull up, so there's still like another 2, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that's the single crochet. And for the last stitch of this leaf, we will be doing another slip stitch. So don't wrap around the hook, insert it into the next stitch, yarn over, pull a stitch up, and pull this loop through the other loop. And now we have 2 little leaves right here. Now we're going to slip stitch one more time, just because that's what the pattern calls for. I'm not really sure where the second slip stitch would go. I'm going to put it into this loop, this little stitch right here. See what happens. I had to interrupt my past self before she continued any further, because instead of doing a slip stitch, she did a single crochet, which are 2 different stitches that have 2 different purposes. I will pick up from where we left off in the video, and I will show you how to finish the leaves and stems live. But first, I would like to thank Think Out of It for sponsoring today's episode. Adulting can be very exhausting, and you may find yourself feeling like you can never catch a break. It's very important to slow down and ground yourself and remind yourself that you can do this. If coloring is one of your ways to unwind after a stressful day, then the Think Out of It mental health coaching and activity book for adults might be just what you need. In addition to coloring, the book offers guided activities, grounding techniques, tools that help manage stress, and much more. You can buy your own copy now at Amazon.com. Just type Think Out of It or Barbara Ann Davis into the search bar. Now I will be showing you how to do a proper slip stitch in the proper place. And I will show you how to finish the second stem. All right, so in the video, I believe I said I did not know where to put the slip stitch. You put it in the first chain, or the first stitch of the first stem that you made. So go ahead and put it in there. And then to slip stitch, you wrap around once, wrap around the yarn around your hook, pull up a loop, and then with the loop that you just pulled up, pull that through the second loop on your hook, and that's a slip stitch. And now that's all that's left to do is to chain 4. So again, wrap the yarn around your hook and pull it through each loop. So that's the first one, second one, third one, and fourth. So it should look something like this. You see the 2 leaves and the 2 stems. And now we just need, my yarn isn't connected to a ball of yarn, but this is where we would cut off, and you would pull the rest of the yarn through the last loop. Now, I think it's looking pretty great so far. And now we have all the pieces we need for our pair of cherries. This is where the sewing comes in. We are going to use our yarn needle and sew each cherry into, into each stem. Although I really enjoy crocheting, the sewing part tends to be my least favorite. Thankfully, the sewing for this project is really simple, and I was able to get it done with no problem at all. Alright, so here I already have one cherry that was already sewn to one of the stems. So I will be showing you how to sew on your next cherry to your next stem. I will be putting the yarn needle onto the tail of this stem. Take our loose cherry, put it in somewhere in the middle, and put the needle all the way through to the other end of the cherry and pull it, pull it through, just pull it through. Not the chain, but just pull the tail all the way through so that it looks like this on the top. Right here. Next we will thread the tail of the cherry into this yarn needle, and we will take the needle and best you can put it between the stem and pull through all the way through. This helps secure the stem to the actual cherry. When it comes to sewing and crochet, I feel like it really just depends on your experience, how comfortable you are with sewing in general, but basically we're just going to weave the pink yarn up through the bottom, out through the top, pull it up so that you can repeat the step of taking your needle, putting it through the stem, pulling it, and going back down. So you can continue to do this for, to make it as secure as you want, but for this tutorial, I will end it there. So once you're done weaving your ends in and making sure that the leaves and the stem are secure, you can just cut as close to your project as possible. Cut off the tails. And then you'll see something like this at the bottom. I kind of just didn't cut close enough, so let me fix that. And you can squeeze the cherry to make the yarn slowly, sink back inside. And there you have it. A cute little pair of lopsided cherries. And now we finally have our own pair of cherries. It's really cute. I like how it came out. This was a really fun and cute pattern to follow, and I'd say the results came out really, really well. If you want, you can turn this into a keychain or use it as a charm for a bag or a backpack. You can even use a smaller hook and thinner yarn to make your own pair of earrings. I'm really happy with it, and I hope you guys had fun. Thanks for watching.